if you just want a discount at a hotel, make a media kit. Make a media kit for sure. Because there's been so many times where I was like years ago, I would be looking seriously for like paid hotel work, and I'd be like, here's my media kit, blah blah blah, and they'd be like, yeah, we'll give you like 50% off if you come. And I'm like, I would 100% take the opportunity to get 50% off, because it takes nothing to take a couple quick videos of a hotel and can provide them with some high quality stuff. So if you're looking for like percentages off, hit up hotels with a media kit. Have you guys talked to anybody that I might know or might have heard of?
Do you know what Rudes?
Yeah. Rudes is sick. Yeah, I know Rudes.
Yeah, we had him on. Like, I don't know. I think Mose sent me one of his videos. Like, this is dope. We gotta have him on. And
Yeah, he's sick.
he came on, and like, I just asked him, like, do you know anyone else who's like creative in like Toronto or like close around Ontario? And he just like mentioned a bunch of people. He mentioned you were a really cool guy, and
Yeah, Rudes is
good
sick,
to
man.
have on.
Rudes is really funny, man. Him and was he wearing his like fucking glasses? Like
the Harry Potter glasses.
Dude, the fucking Wizard of VFX glasses. Like,
No, this guy.
so funny.
It's the yellow shirt. It's the orange.
Oh,
and
dude,
yellow
it's always
shirt.
the yellow shirt. It's a part of his identity.
So Pat, when did you meet a Roots? Like, how did you meet him?
How did I meet a Rudes? I think I met a Rudes a couple years ago. I think we followed each other on Instagram, and I just thought his work was good. But at the time, he wasn't doing as much VFX stuff. He was just kind of shooting videos and whatnot. I just thought he was dope. We connected, and then we linked up. Yeah, I'm gonna say like 2 years ago. But yeah, super funny dude. So
Did you ever work in the music like concert festival space?
Kind-
I think that's
kind
where
of.
he did a bunch.
I think he did. Yeah, I was a lot more on the hip hop side of things. Like, I used this back in the day before I kind of got into more branded and directed commercial related stuff. So I never really entered the EDM space. I was a lot more in like I was a lot more in the hip hop scene, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he might be the most connected creative in Toronto, because the amount of people this guy knows and that he like looked me up to reach out to, everyone says he's like the fucking coolest guy.
Yeah, man,
It's so
he's really funny. He's a really unique guy, you know. Like, there's something about Aruz that really does set him apart, like personality wise. Like, he's kind of like a really creative, like he's like a really, I don't know how like this is perceived, but he's like a very creative like sloth. Like, I don't know why, but his entity reminds me of like a wizard, creative like sloth kind of guy, you know. Like,
I love that. We're gonna clip that and send it to him right now.
yeah, he's the goat.
We'll have to send him this clip. But anyways, like, so how did you get like your start? So you went to college where, you said?
So crazy enough, I guess, like, do you want me to start just from the beginning and kind of just take you through like a timeline and like
Yeah, sure.
run it? Or
I mean, did it start prior to school, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah, I did. And I have a really cringy start, so this might be kind of good actually. So my first introduction to videos was like back in 2010. And basically what happened was I was dating this girl in high school, and she was like, yo, we need to do like a boyfriend tag. And as like a, you know, a grade 10 guy, I'm like, fuck that. I'm trying to preserve my masculinity here. It's grade 10. It's 2010. Like, being a feminine dude isn't cool yet. You know what I mean? So, but eventually, you know, I just said yes to make the girl happy. And then next thing you know, that video got like 2.5 million views. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, God damn it. I did. It's private now. No. But yeah,
was it one of those Tumblrs?
I was like, I saw him look for it.
Well, was it one of those Tumblr videos? You know,
we went up on Tumblr, and things started kind of moving around on Tumblr, and then it was Reddit. Reddit kind of picked it up a bit too. And then she's like, oh, we got to do another one. And I was like, there's no fucking way I'm doing another one. Obviously, again, just to prevent fights, I did another one. And it was like something to do with like a makeup tag. And I remember just like trying to do her makeup, and I like knew nothing. Like, I didn't know foundation. Like, I knew nothing. So I essentially just butchered her face with the makeup thing. And that got, again, like 2 million views, something crazy like that. And then we went from like 0 to like, I'm going to say 30, maybe 35,000 subscribers just like instantly, which isn't like a ton. But at the time in high school, like the kids that were following us were very like, connected. You know how like kid followers are very like, I don't want to use the word culty, but like they're very like into
They're
it,
invested, yeah.
very invested. And yeah, and that's kind of how I got introduced to video. Otherwise, I used to film myself doing like martial arts and like gymnastics related stuff because I've always just like grown up doing that. And then had policing, went to school to be a cop. Definitely did not want to be a cop at the end of that. And I also found myself kind of filming more like comedy related videos at the time. Like I've always kind of just been like messing around. And then I knew this artist after school. This is like right after school. And he was going to go on tour and he was like, well, do you want to come on tour and shoot some of my stuff? And I was like, obviously. So that's kind of where I learned to shoot more kind of cinematic related stuff and more artsy, I guess you could say, related things. Moving forward from that, I ran into an agency that's called funk.u, and they basically outsourced me for a bunch of brand stuff. And that's kind of where I learned to shoot more like commercial related advertisement. But that span might have been over like, well, I guess since 2010, but that whole progression was from 2010 to like now, basically.
I want to back up to that first video.
I was gonna say,
what was the
course.
reaction? What was the reaction when were you in high school at this point?
I was in high school. 2010, I was in grade 10.
What were there pregame jitters on the bus, knowing that you had to talk to all your boys and that this thing was out there and it was getting traction?
Oh man. Well, even at the time too, it's like I said, like now in high school, everything's so progressive, which is great. You know, someone could do this. You're not really going to hear too much about it, right? But back in the day, man, you do something like that and you go back to high school, your boys are just razzing you. Like you're not hearing the end of it. Like, oh yeah, like definitely the pregame jitters were on full effect. Like I was going to get on that bus and I knew I was just going to get bodied. Like I knew right away.
I kind of want to get into like, you said your video like career kind of started there. Like, did you like shoot it with like your Nokia? Like, what was the frame rate, the aspect ratio?
I had a Canon T2i. And the T2i, I think a lot of us start with a T2i. I actually wanted to frame it because like it was just my first camera. But yeah, the T2i, and I shot it in 1080 in 24 frames. At that time though, it didn't matter because I didn't even fucking know what the frames meant. I didn't know anything about shutter speed. All I knew was I was like, well, this looks kind of bright. Like, let's just like, I think I just threw everything on auto back in 2010, and I was just like, let's just let it rip, you know, like.
So it was just kind of like a selfie video, I'm assuming. You just kind of
it was on a tripod. The one that was the makeup one was just like, it was on a tripod facing a mirror, and I just fucking just tried to do my thing and just didn't work. And Reddit picked it up and just trolled the shit out of me. So
I wouldn't be surprised if people like in Toronto probably have seen, like girls saw the video on like circulating
from a long
on Tumblr.
time ago, probably from a long time ago.
Pre-beard.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting, man. So like, what you said, you started working with an agency? Is that what you said? And then they freelanced out work to you. Like they'd pick you up as a freelancer and then send you out?
Yeah. So basically they have like X amount of clients and they would be like, yo, we need a video or a commercial kind of shot like this. Like, here you go. And then they would just toss me work, and it was cool. It was chill.
Well, would you say you prefer that style of like working as a videographer or as a video producer versus just being like a solo freelancer?
Well, the thing I like about that is those guys that I work with are very chill. I'm not like directly signed with them by any means. Lately, I've been doing a lot more directing. Like I've been directing commercial related stuff because that's something that I like to practice, is more so formulating the ideas that go into the actual commercial, and then maybe having somebody else shoot it. And like, I still like chopping stuff myself because I just find that like I have a specific cutting style, and I kind of enjoy doing that. But yeah, I would say, the situation I have with them was really good, and it still is. I still go on and off with them, and we still do work and stuff, and they're super chill. They'll just be like, hey man, like we have this, can you do it? And yeah, you just gotta do it. So I think it's tough when you like sign to somebody, depending, I mean, every situation's different, but if you sign to somebody and you don't know if you're really going to get enough work, or you don't know exactly what that entails or what their expectations are, I think things can get a little like stressful. It's cool because I've known these guys for a really long time, so they're just kind of open to throw me stuff whenever they get it.
Yeah, I mean, because I was actually on the phone with a friend, and we were talking about like freelance video, and like he's like a very like artistic guy. Like
Mm,
he likes just like shooting, editing, and like directing videos. But
yeah.
he's like, I work as a freelance videographer, and there's like a lot of business stuff that like I'm not really good at, slash
Okay.
like not sure if I want to do. So that's why I
Yeah,
ask like, I
definitely.
feel like when you work with an agency where maybe you're not signed as like they're contracted for the year videographer, but like they reach out to you, they handle all like that bullshit, you just make something that looks fire.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're more on the creative side or more on the business side? Like where do you lie on that spectrum?
So I know that the sitting on the fence answer probably isn't the best answer here, but they basically like they get work and then they say, hey, you want to do some stuff. So there's that. But I also over like years myself have kind of learned about how to like reach out properly. And over time you build up, no, I wouldn't say like an email template, but you kind of understand like, okay, like this company's quarterly budget is probably going to be like this. And you kind of start to understand what companies are looking for so that when you do reach out, it's a lot more formulated and it makes a lot more sense as opposed to just being like, I'm a video guy, like hire me. It's a lot more like, if I know that like let's just say I know that like Mercedes needs a campaign for a certain time and I just know it through the grapevine, or maybe I just know based on what they're posting that like, okay, like they're gonna want videos during this time, and based on their theme, it looks like they might want this. I'll gear a message that's like specifically for that purpose. So over years on my own, specifically using like LinkedIn and just other platforms like that. Um, and then on the side, there are companies that I've worked with in the past who do also funnel me work. Um, that's not just me reaching out, if that makes sense. You just see people working with brands and you just assume that people are like, hey, Toyota, let's work. But it's like a lot more strategic than that. And unfortunately, I think some of these companies get a little irritated too, because there's probably so many video creators and photo people that are like, what's up, Hotel Indigo? I want to take photos. Can I stay in your hotel? And they're like, dude, fuck off. You know what I mean? It's like, so knowing when they want certain things and kind of their annual budget works, and kind of learning about that is definitely important.
Well, have you ever done like those spec ads, like where like you
Hmm.
do like, and then do you get work from that? Because that's one thing I was
Yeah,
telling this guy too. I'm like, if you don't want to do the business stuff, just fucking make some like a shitload of specs
yeah,
and send them
yeah.
out.
There's a really, really dope creator and somebody that I look up to a lot. Um, and maybe you guys should ask him to get on this podcast, but his name's Danny Jervitz.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
this
Gravert, isn't it?
guy,
Yeah.
or Gervitz, whatever.
Sorry,
Um,
Danny.
yeah, sorry about the last name butchering, but the content is incredible. And I think he mentioned something about this, but I think it's important to the spec work is very important, but I think the expectations behind what your spec work is going to get you is also really important, because some people do like a Nike spec ad and then they just assume they're going to get work from Nike. But I think it's important to do the spec ads, not assuming that reach out or that you should then blast it at that company, assuming they're just going to work with you. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Well, it's
Yeah.
like just learn something from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it could be good from a direction scale just to show companies what you're capable of
Yeah.
versus like assuming that company is then going to be down to just great. Now that we know you can do it, you can do it. Sometimes that works though. Sometimes it does, but a lot of the time it's a time and a place. These companies have very specific intentions, and it's good to not get discouraged. Because the piece could be amazing. They might love the piece. It's just usually it's a time and a place for them. And
I would add as well, like when you're doing a spec ad for somebody like Nike, they have so much history and like goodwill towards that brand where it's like, even if you don't do an amazing job, it's going to look good.
yeah,
So, I mean, like just put some thought into like who it's going to be and like have a really clear idea of the concept behind it and like what the goals are, kind of hitting on what you had just said.
yeah, definitely.
Danny Gavertz. What was his take? Was he just saying manage those expectations going in?
Yeah, yeah. I think he mentioned something like it was a few videos back, so I exactly what he said, but I think it was something just along the lines of like he did a spec ad, um, and I'm not sure that he got the gig from the spec ad, but I think it got him something else. And I think that's what I took from it. Not exactly, like, again, like, it's a few videos back, so I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I'm pretty sure it was something along the lines of that. So the spec work could get you great work. It's just like, don't be discouraged if that exact company isn't like the direct one that comes to, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Have you ever done a spec job where like you got maybe that company reach out to you and then you had a bit of an uncomfortable conversation because they're like, oh, you did free work already. Can you do more for like a budget? And they try to like weasel you out because it's like, oh, they already did it for free. You know what I mean?
I've had situations, I won't even say the name of the company because like I don't want them to get upset or anything, but I did have a situation with a company and these people were very irritating. I gotta try and choose the words wisely here, but I basically got into a meeting, and most corporate companies like to believe that like their page has billions of followers that are real. They're all real. And it's like, dude, like your agency's buying you so many fake followers, it like hurts my soul. But I basically got into the office of the, and it was a car company, and I sat down and they were like, Pat, you do realize that we spend thousands of dollars a month on advertising for our social media because we want to really engage our organic following. Dude, if you go to Social Blade and you go to this company's website, it's just like it's just garbage. It's just all fake, like all fake. It's like, dude, nobody's following the car company because they want to see what model is coming out next. Like nobody gives a shit. In any case, you know, they don't need people like me regardless. I'm sure they're doing well. They're a huge company. But I did some free work for them. And then after that free work, I got nothing. So that's the point, is basically like they allowed me to do the free work and they gave me the ability to use the car for content. But I didn't get any further work from them that was paid. It was very just like, we like the free work. Like, let's ride this train for a little bit, you know?
I kind of want to go back in time a little bit to like 2020, and I see that on your IG, like you were traveling a bunch, traveling with some other guys like JR Ali
Yeah, yeah,
into 2020 and 2019, and you're having a ball.
yeah, yeah,
COVID
yeah,
hits in
yeah,
March.
yeah,
I want
definitely.
to hear where you were, what was going on in your brain, because I
Oh
feel
man,
like
I got a story for that too.
I like everyone's unique story and take on when they got the news. It's like it all started with the NBA canceled their season. That's when it started for me. I'm like, I'm fucked, and then all my work just disappeared.
Yeah.
But what happened for you last March?
Oh man. So this story was pretty wild actually. So JR and I had actually uh we had talked to Tourism Dubai. And basically somebody set that up for us and we were supposed to go to Dubai to shoot these videos and it was really exciting because Dubai is a beautiful place. And obviously like, you know, was an opportunity that like you can't pass that up. Like that was crazy opportunity. Um, However, we got that opportunity right in the beginning of like early March, which is right when the pandemic first was like talked about. We left right as like we had maybe one or two cases in Toronto, one or two cases. By the time I got to Dubai, it was like 12 hours. I was like, this is kind of sketchy because now back at home, like you got Trudeau and Ford being like, okay, it's spreading, everybody just chill. It's gonna be nothing. And then I think it was like 2 days later, I'm in the middle of the desert. Like I'm literally in the middle of the desert in a dune buggy. And I see somehow I have service and I'm getting notifications that saying Trudeau wants everybody to come home. And I'm in the desert.
Holy,
I literally looked down at my phone and I just shut it off. I was like, I'm not even gonna look at this. Like I'm not even gonna pretend this didn't even happen. Right. Um, we do the rest of the trip essentially. It was only another like 6 days anyways. And we came back, but we couldn't even get our normal flights back because everybody was trying to escape back to like the US and back to Canada. So we had to book like different flights. We couldn't even get a direct flight back to Toronto. We had to go through like it was like some other rant. I think it was like Switzerland or something, and then we had to go through like it was brutal. It was like we had to go through so many airports. I was like, I'm definitely getting COVID after this. Like this is crazy. But yeah, that was for me. I was like, oh, this is about to be a shit show for sure.
So it was kind of like Fire Festival. You were stuck in Exuma and everyone was trying to get off the island.
That is exactly what it was like.
I
That was-
recently
that was-
saw that doc.
That
I
was
just
exactly what
rewatched
was
it. It's just as crazy as the first time I watched it.
like. Honestly, like when I first watched it, I thought it was incredible. I just thought it was incredible that it was real. Like
Yeah.
it was a real thing. Like I came out. Sometimes I forget that it was based on something that was supposed to be real. Like I thought, like, damn.
And this
Yeah.
guy was still hustling. Like as he was going to prison, he was selling backstage tickets to Taylor Swift.
Or unlocked iPhones and shit. But
Classic.
so you came back to Canada through the crazy, airports and everything.
Yeah.
What happened to your video work and like, your career?
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of creatives, it either went really far south or
Yeah.
it went south for a little bit and then they just went online. I'm going to do like what a Roots told us was he started just going crazy on VFX, After Effects, Cinema 4D, and he just doubled down on that. And now he's never had so much work than he's ever had.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Well, the thing about that too, and I won't go too like long into that, but basically like with what he's doing specifically too, people like always need that stuff. And like you don't even need to show up on site really. Like it's good to have the VFX artist show up on the shoot to make sure that they can, that's shot properly. But he does a lot of animations and he does a lot of really good stuff. And the people always need that. So that's good. For me, I transitioned a little bit. I still love shooting my own stuff. I love editing my own stuff a lot. But like I said, the past year I've been directing a lot more because I really like making treatments and like templates and stuff that I can like create ideas and concepts around. And then a lot of the time I don't even have to be there. Like I'll just like be somewhere remote and I can direct the shoots without even having to go. Film has always been essential too. So I've never had an issue with work stopping.
wait,
So
can we
it's been
back up
good.
just a quick sec? So what do you mean directing remotely?
So I could go on a Zoom call and somebody on like the shoot would be on Zoom and I can direct without even needing to go, if that makes
Really?
sense. Yeah.
So
That's
what was there like any problems that arise? Because I almost feel like, what if there's a connection issue or like you're trying to explain and point at something but they can't see it? Like, are there any like barriers with that?
So there's always going to be barriers, but I found that with enough pre-planning, because a lot of the shoots that I had done are a lot more like people involved now. There's like a full-blown like editor, there's a DP, there's a sound guy, there's like all this stuff, which means there's a lot more pre-planning, which means most of the time you're going to know exactly where the locations are. You're going to know exactly what the shot list is. You're going to know everything about everything. So usually there's no problem. Every now and then you'll run into like a connection issue or something like that. But essentially you're giving them so much of the video with that if anything ever went wrong, they have everything that they need in order to complete the video on what like my vision of it would be, if that makes sense.
Right.
Because they have my treatment, they have my template, they have everything. If worse came to worse, but it doesn't usually.
Right. But so you said film is essential. What does that mean? Like
it is, yeah.
Your work just didn't go away because
it's an essential.
But like, what do you mean? Like, so like, are you shooting like a car ad or like, was it short films? Like what exactly was the essential work?
Anything to do with like commercial or film or anything like that. If it was film and you're part of a production company, technically it was essential.
No,
so you could,
wow.
So basically you could have like slips, so you could be in film and that was essential. Like film was essential. I don't know, why it was essential per se, because like there are other jobs that definitely had very important like tasks that weren't. But yeah, film was essential. So I never had an issue not working. I mean, I think it gets trickier when you're trying to shoot the video yourself and you're not under like a production company for those particular shoots. I think if I was just relying on shooting everything myself during that period, it probably would have been harder for me. But yeah, I took a lot more directing throughout that year because I didn't have to even go. And even when I did go, it was essential and we didn't have any issues.
Like I got asked, so did you start in videography and like photography, kind of like, your every average day person, your T2 Wait, T2I. What am I saying?
Yeah, T2I.
So you started there, you did videography. How did you go from that to film? Because if I look at your IG,
Yeah.
it kind of looks like travel videography,
Yeah,
sport videography, but now you're saying film and directing. So like, when was
it's
that split?
transitioning. Yeah.
When was that split and why?
Like, as in, like, when was the split between like travel and then more like the commercial ad related
Yeah.
stuff? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and like the film related
Um,
stuff.
honestly, like, I don't have any issues doing the travel stuff. I just see, but the thing is I just find there's so much more. I don't know if this is the right term to use per se, but conceptual ability around doing like ads versus like a travel video. So if I was to go to like Dubai, or I was to go to like I don't even want to say Miami because Jesus Christ. But if you were
COVID
to go
doesn't
to,
exist in Miami. It's not
yeah,
real.
if you went to like Miami and you started driving Lambos around and being like woo, like I'm driving Lambos, like that's not like, there's nothing to that, you know, like there's no substance to that, and there's no like really concept behind that. And even if you're like, so I went to Miami, and you try to build like some sort of context, it still sounds corny. Whereas if somebody has a story behind their brand already, and either the brand is meaningful or the message is meaningful, or you can kind of like sway that in like a direction, I find that there's a lot more opportunity when it comes to like different brands and different ways you can angle concepts versus just like going to a country and being like, this is what this culture, you know, the culture is great. If you focus on the culture, it's great. But if you start focusing on like the materialistic stuff, it becomes really corny. Like if you start doing the whole Dubai McLaren thing on the bridge, it becomes very like, it becomes very like not good. Yeah.
Cliche.
Before you go in,
almost.
Mose, I thought you were gonna say like, you know, the travel thing where you just go and like do backflips on like sand dunes or something.
I know.
That's
Hey,
also
look,
the other
I've done
thing.
it. Hey, look, I've done it. I've done it for sure, honestly. But yeah,
It's
I
fun.
honestly, it's just one of those things though, where like at some point you got to realize like this shit doesn't mean anything. Like doing my backflip off a Jeep in the middle of like Egypt in the sand, like it doesn't mean anything. You know, it's like very like, yeah, it's just kind of pointless. It's fun as hell, but I'm also not promoting like, yo, you should go to Egypt and do a backflip off a Jeep. It's like very like, yeah, you kind of ask yourself, why the fuck am I doing this at some point? And then you realize that you should probably do like more productive related things, I guess.
I love that. The other one that sticks out to me with travel videos is the backflip into the pool at the Airbnb.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, it's either the backflip into the infinity or it is the backflip off of like a cliff. And it's usually like it's usually a layout. They're usually very open.
Yeah.
They're very like open
Gainers.
backflip. Yeah.
Gainers.
Or guys, don't forget the bikini like IG model holding your
it's
hip.
all about the model spinning. If you can get the model to spin, then the spinning is winning. If she can
Spinning
spin,
is winning.
if the model spins and the hair flicks around and you're shooting in 1080 at 120, heaven forbid you have an A7S III and you can capture that shit in 4K, and now look at that, like boom, like you got
Here's
like
the
a
video.
yeah.
Every single travel agency reaching out.
Boom.
So if you're a model listening to this, make sure that you write in an extra 20% if you have to do the twirl.
Or if you're a model listening, Pat will take you away to
it's all about the
Dubai.
body language, you know. You want to make sure you're lying down on the beach somewhere, or you're doing a lot of spinning, or you know you're doing yeah, you know, just
acro
yeah.
yoga.
Yeah, sometimes very wavy dresses that like flop around in the wind too in slow motion. People use that as a mask a lot for some reason. So like, I think that might be beneficial to people maybe just beginning, for sure. Yeah.
We got all the tips today. This is great.
Yeah, it's all good stuff.
So as somebody that's done both, what skills did you think were important when you made that flip to doing more directing stuff and like building out concepts for brands?
I think the most important skill, the funniest thing is all the dumb stuff that I did film did apply later on, because it does teach you how to shoot certain things, and like you kind of mess around so much that you do learn, okay, this is what this is probably going to look like when I try and shoot it. Like this is the angle, you know, maybe not so much the backflips off the Jeeps and things like that, but like you do learn what angles look good for certain types of shots, and that does transition over. But I think the biggest transition was just in my head. Like I think it was more of a a wake-up call, so to speak, of just like, okay, like this type of content has its place, but I just found it very corny. And I think being just consciously aware that this type of content is not really that like impactful, I think was the biggest transition in itself. Because otherwise, like, you know, always progressing in like the skill set and things like that. But I think it was a lot more being consciously aware of like why which content mean what versus trying to be like cool, so to speak. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would say that was it.
Well, I guess I have a two-parter. I'm curious, like, how'd you get into the travel thing? Because that to
Yeah,
me sounds like I don't even know where you start. Maybe it's you
yeah,
meet a
yeah,
certain person, or
yeah.
I don't know, build relationships, and then you like transition into that. How did you then go from there to like getting consistent work as a director and concept builder for film?
Right. So again, it all happened through just relationships that you build along the way throughout people within your community. Like the video community in general, I'm just saying the video community, but in reality, I'm just gonna say the creative space, whether that's music, video, photo, whatever, is very, very small. And if you don't know somebody directly, you've probably heard of them. And if you haven't heard of them, if you saw their Instagram, you probably recognize it. So just throughout years of shooting random stuff, like I used to just go downtown with my friends and we would just shoot nothing, just to learn how to like shoot and use our cameras. But you would meet so many people along the way. And then basically I would build out, specifically for the travel, I would build out a media kit. And then this media kit would go out to tourism boards during a certain time of year. I would send out myself and like a few of my friends, and then you'd either get a hit back or you wouldn't get a hit back at all. And you'd throw that media kit at hotels, you'd throw it at tourism boards, you'd throw it at travel um, guide companies, you know, like Kentucky or something. But that's kind of how you get into the travel stuff. But in order to have work to show them, you would kind of have to go on a trip and just gather that work. Like you'd have to essentially you'd have to pay to go on a trip, get the content, make that video so that you could show them, hey, like I've done something. Um, and then yeah, as far as the ads go and the stuff related to like cars or sports or anything like that, like I just met people along the way that said, hey, like do you want to do stuff with our production company? Or hey, um, I've seen your work before and I'm now at this company in marketing. And it was just a long process of kind of building relationships.
So the same thing go. You were saying the same thing goes for the getting into the
Yeah, yeah.
film world.
It all blends into itself at the end of the day. It was just a long process of meeting like a bunch of people. It's all just kind of relationship based and having good work. But the thing about the good work is you might not even be able to create the good work if like you don't have the relationship to even get the right opportunity to shoot what you need to shoot. I think everybody has a car, so you could, you know, or a lot of people have a car, so you could technically speaking, or you might know somebody that has a car, you could build up the car work if you wanted to. But there are certain types of work that, you know, there are certain relationships that need to be made in order for you to go certain places. And sometimes you get lucky and you just meet the right people.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. In terms of that media kit, what did that look like? What was inside of it?
Right. Yeah. So media kits are generally a tool to show everything to do with your audience and like what you're delivering. So like if it was for a tourism board, you might need to send out maybe like 3 or 4 videos, like coming from just one of you. The other person might have 3 or 4 videos that they have to provide. We might have to in total provide 20 photos. The deliverables are divided between, you know, who's posting what on what platform. So there's like a certain amount of posts on Instagram, a certain amount of posts on YouTube. And then you need to show basically what it's projected to do, and what maybe some of your previous stuff, like if you have a case study, it's good to kind of throw that in there, and it kind of shows, okay, like these are how many impressions I'm going to generate, and things like that. And that's basically it for the most part. Obviously having some previous work in there, but it's a PDF, so you're not going to have any like videos or anything playing. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Shit, I need to get a media kit going or something. I didn't even like
Yeah,
think
media
of all
kits,
this
dude.
stuff.
Media kits are great. Especially media kits are great. Side note, totally unrelated to the serious work stuff. But if you just want a discount at a hotel, make a media kit. Make a media kit for sure. Because there's been so many times where I was like years ago, I would be looking seriously for like paid hotel work. And I'd be like, here's my media kit, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, yeah, we'll give you like 50% off if you come. And I'm like, I would 100% take the opportunity to get 50% off, because it takes nothing to take a couple quick videos of a hotel and can provide them with some high quality stuff and something that they might actually use. So if you're looking for like percentages off, hit up hotels with media kit. Like they'll probably give you like some percentage off, and you'll save a ton of money.
Wait, but what video do you have to make? Like, what's the video?
You
Like,
have to basically create like, well, that's again, it depends on what they want, right? Like sometimes they want photos. Majority of the time I've been asked to do like 1 or 2 posts on like Instagram, and then maybe like stories every day. Like they want like stories to basically show with their tag and all that stuff. And then they would want, more than likely, if you don't have a huge following, they would want you to provide deliverables to them that they can use. Most of the time I would say it's real estate based, so it would be like a classic like walkthrough of like the space. So like the lobby, your room, you know, maybe they make you film the executive suite or something, and you provide photos with it, and usually that would be it.
Earlier you were talking about relationships, and I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
so it seemed like when it's going through Instagram, like you did a video with Jesse Driftwood,
Yeah.
with JRLE. I see like Schiffer comments on like some of your work that I see. I'm like, whoa, this guy's fucking connected. Where'd you meet all these guys?
Again,
yeah,
this was just filming and just doing like fun stuff, and basically like, you know, I just like enjoyed filming, and I didn't take it like super seriously at the beginning. But a really funny story on how I met Daniel. Daniel's a homie now too, so he's a good guy. I met Daniel at Bufferfest. It was basically, I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's a film.
Was this in 2017, 2018?
It might have been around then. I think it was a couple years ago. So yeah, basically what happened was I went to this after party, and I had followed Daniel at the time, and Daniel had like maybe 150,000 subscribers. We'd already talked on Instagram. It was one of those things where we had followed each other already, and it was an open bar, and I think it was either him or I, but it was like, yeah, we got to do a shot of Henny right now. And we bonded over a shot of Hennessy. And that was how I met Daniel Schiffer, which is super untraditional. But like, yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, same with JR. Connected with JR through Facebook like a long time ago. And then we just kind of became friends. And yeah, we shot a bunch of stuff. And like I said, the community is really small. So, you know, everybody kind of knows of everybody. And yeah, I mean, Jesse is from Hamilton area as well. So that's how I knew of Jesse. Was like the pioneer of doing like really cool Instagram stories.
Yeah.
And I just remember seeing that at the time. At that particular time, this is so like, I've never seen Instagram stories being used for this, because it was so early. And I thought that was dope. And then I kept seeing like certain areas in his life, and I was like, this guy's from Hamilton. This is crazy. So I just kind of hit him up, and yeah, we linked up. So
Will, I'm gonna put on our to-dos that we have to learn how to take a shot of Hennessy, because I don't know if I could do it with a straight face right now.
Henny's all right, man. You could take it. You could hit a shot of Henny for sure.
Well, it also seems like the timing of making those relationships was just perfect, because like all these guys now are probably so big that if you tried to be friends or like say, hey, what's up? Like, I enjoy your work. We could work together. You know what I mean? Like, it might be harder to like connect. Would you say? Or even then,
I
it
would
doesn't
say.
matter?
No, I would definitely say having an organic connection is extremely important. Like these people are my friends. Like before anything, I considered these people members of I was a part of, versus like, obviously I'm a fan of my friends' work. Like I think all my friends make crazy good work, but I think my initial angle was a lot more like these are like my co-space sharing people. Like these people are like other creators just like I am. And you know, as much as I am a fan of their work, I don't think in my head I was like, hey man, what's going on? Like,
well,
what
you're
up,
not gonna
dude?
be friends.
Hey
you'll
man,
never be friends like that.
Imagine, I was just wondering if maybe you wanted to be friends. Anyways, man, see you around. Like you're like, ooh.
Here's my business card.
Yo, but
yeah.
you know those people though. Like I remember.
Oh yeah.
Fuck. That's one thing I
Oh
hate
yeah.
about mixer events. Like they're great because you meet like you probably wouldn't have met Schiffer if you didn't go to Bufferfest. But also going to Bufferfest, it's like the
Yeah.
greasiest people sometimes just reaching out.
Yeah.
They're
Oh
like the
yeah. I mean, you run into all of YouTube, and that's not just the film. You run into like people who are in makeup and beauty and all kinds of other things that you might not be super well versed in. But yeah, these events are definitely, you meet a lot of interesting people for sure.
Do you have
Yeah.
a story you could share about this Bufferfest outside of
I have
the
so many stories that I can't share about Bufferfest, to be honest. But you
post
know,
pod?
Buffer,
Post pod.
yeah, post pod for sure. Um, but yeah, Bufferfest was a good time. I think it obviously it's been um yeah, you know, there's people that I definitely I would say I get along with, and then there's also a massive space that I don't feel like I personally belong in, because I kind of strayed away for the past little while from just the YouTube stuff. I was trying to get more into the directing and not so much of like an influencer thing. I just want to be versed in my space. Like I just want to be good in film and kind of like, you know, more primarily be a director. But if creating on YouTube gives you another like avenue of stream, or so to speak, another like stream of money, then that sounds great too. But I just never really saw myself like in the past year and a half as like an influencer. Like that to me was never something like specifically in the past year and a half that I just was like, I definitely am not trying to be an influencer. Um, and you'll really find that out at Bufferfest as well. Like people will be very like, hello, like what's your name? And then they'll give you their like YouTube name. And it's like, oh, like sick. Like my name is like Prometheus Johnson. Like I'm giving you a fake name now because like you just gave me a fake name. So now I'm gonna troll because like, yeah, very like I asked this person what I have one story. I won't even say the name or anything, but basically I had full blown lunch with like a group of people during one of like the breaks, and there was a group of us, and I got up and I was like, "Hey, I'm Pat. Nice to meet you." And this girl goes, "Hi, I'm just gonna use a fake name." It was like Guru123, and I was like, "Oh, we're on that level." Like, oh, like okay,
Like
like
we're not on Earth right now.
I was like, "Wow, oh, it's tight. It's really sick that you'd go by your like different identity like that while we're eating lunch. Like that's really cool. By the way, we're on break. Like you don't have to be a YouTuber right now. You know, it's like it's totally cool. Like so that was really interesting for me.
Oh my
They hit you with
god.
the
Yeah.
swipe up. Hey, 20% off. Use Guru one two
Oh,
three.
dude, that's a whole other thing. There were people there who would randomly be like, yeah, and honestly, like the hardships that I've gone through. What's up, guys? Back again with another, and they would just it was just like character switch. Like it would be like, but like completely like, and I'd be like, oh my God, like some of the way these people can put on the face so quickly. Like they can be talking about something very serious. And then the next second, it could be like, hold on one second, I need to do an integration. What's going on, guys? This video is sponsored by, and they just go right into it. It's like, holy, like, damn, dude.
It's just so I guess it's so crazy to see the people who like they're like maybe sad people or not what they are when they present, you know? Like that's such a
Yeah.
creepy switch to see flick, you know?
Yeah, I think it gets dangerous, you know, in the area of, you know, when there's somebody making a vlog or like specific type of videos where they're showing so much of their life, and their content relies around what is happening in their life versus the craft that they're doing. I think that's kind of part of the reason why so many filmmakers are similar to the way they are in real life, because at the end of the day, a lot of it's educational. A lot of it's like, let me show you how to shoot this or that or whatever. And these people get to maintain their identity, and it's the same for the most part. Like their identity will be a little, maybe a little more like formal on camera or a little more animated, but some vlogs and like certain other types of videos where maybe they have their relationship involved or something, and then there's so much on the table that they feel like they have to make their vlog a certain way. Those people will do, like I've seen some really crazy shit where like their emotions will just like, they have like a switch on them where they can just be like in a fight with their significant other and then just be like, and this video is sponsored by, and they'll just flick it off to do the thing. It's just crazy. Like yeah, it's pretty wild. So I think it's a difference between lifestyle, like knowing so much about someone's life and your content relying on that, versus like you kind of have a foundation, like a craft that you at the end of the day can come back to and talk about.
What do you think is the most overused photo or video spot in Toronto? Some
Wow.
front runners of mine, Garrison Crossing, and the CN Tower spot in the financial district where you can kind of see it through the buildings.
Oh.
Yeah. That one's a doozy. That one is a doozy. The best is when somebody comes from not Toronto and you can go to that spot and they'll just be mind blown. And it's just great. Because if you
They're
really
just
want to
looking
just
around.
yeah, if you have like a cousin from like the States or something, just bring them from that to that spot and they'll just lose it. I would say going off of those two spots though, there's a parking garage. In the parking garage, everyone goes to this parking garage and it's like right on kind of like the lakefront. And it's again like a giant CN Tower kind of spot. That spot is so overused, it's incredible. Graffiti alley is just like nobody should ever go there to shoot anything. I don't know why anyone would ever do that. The Toronto sign is fairly typical. I feel like people would say the Toronto sign. But
Wait,
the
where's
Toronto sign,
Where's that?
the in Nathan Phillips Square, the giant Toronto sign.
That's
Yeah.
yeah.
People love that.
And that building, that
Word.
like circular building, the U building.
Yeah, it's like City Hall maybe or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
City Hall.
That spot's definitely overused. So I would say those spots for sure. And more particularly, like you can go to a really overused spot, and if whatever you're doing with it is, if somehow like you do something really cool with the way that you film it, maybe you could make it different. Like I'm not going to say that you can't use it at all, but it's usually when you see somebody just like with like a super influencer type photo in these spots where it's just like, damn, you really like, you definitely thought this was sick. Like you 100% thought this was tight. And you did the thing where you're looking down at the ground and you're like looking off to the side and you get the photo and you thought that was it, you know, and it just wasn't, unfortunately. But yeah.
Well, I want to end
that.
this.
I love that.
I want to see if you can remember a really sick story from your traveling video days, because I've always just heard like just the craziest shit can happen if you're in like, Dubai or anywhere really, just overseas.
Yeah, definitely. Egypt, I got stuck in the desert in the middle of a sandstorm and almost got buried. So that was interesting. Because like, you know, those ones where you see in the movies where there's like a giant cloud coming towards like the city.
Yeah.
So it was at night, in the middle of the night, and we had this guy directing us around in Egypt, and it was a sick experience, really, really dope. And all of a sudden, like I just can't see like anything. Like it just looks like we're in a car wash, but it's not a car wash, it's a sandstorm, and we can't see anything. And all of a sudden, like, you know, the two people at the front are like speaking their own native language, and I'm in the back, and I'm like, all right, that's not English, which means this is a problem, because you know what I mean? Like that's gonna be a problem. And then the
so
guy
you grab your camera.
Like literally. So the guy goes, "Oh, we need to start digging with our hands." And I was like,
"Oh my
god!" At that point, I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're done. We're gonna die here.
This is it."
I was like, "Yeah." At that point, I was like, yeah, well, this is how I'm going. Like, I guess it's kind of interesting. I don't really want to be buried per se, but like kind of interesting.
Pull over the Jeep so I can do one more backflip before I go.
There should be enough cushion here. Maybe I'll go for a double, you know, like
I have to get the swipe up. I need to post the swipe up.
I'm like, hold on, everybody, hold on. What's up, guys? Today we're stuck in the fucking desert. But so eventually this guy had some like really primitive walkie-talkie, and he like sent out some sort of like, I don't know if it was like a Mayday thing or what it was, but this other guy, showed up in like a really janky looking Jeep, and he like tried to tow us out, and that process took like an hour or so, and he was getting buried in the process. And it was like, we eventually got out, but it was like hours of trying to get us out, and it was terrifying. So I would say that one was up there for sure. That one was definitely.
What a story. Oh my God.
Yeah. I have a crazy, that one is more crazy. I have like more like interesting, like weird stories that are from like Jamaica. My friend and I went to Jamaica, and my friend, he kind of looks like a TikTok kid. Like he's got more so like the like clean faced earring kind of vibe, I guess. And he's a lot, like, I'd say he's like maybe like 5'6". So we went into this like, and in Jamaica, depending on where you go, they're very like persistent in trying to sell you things, and they're really good at doing that. And we went to this one store. He's like, come on. And how long has this been your son for? And I was like, God damn it. Like, damn, he's my age. He's 94. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. And then they start pushing like necklaces on him. Like, they're like, we think you look good in this necklace. And I was like, and I'm filming. I'm like, I think he looks great in the necklace. I was like, get the necklace on him. Like, the necklace doesn't even fit over his fucking face. Like, they're just forcing it on his head, and he's just sitting there. I actually paid him to do this because he didn't want to do this. I was like, you have to do this. I feel like they're gonna harass you. It'll be funny. Then they pull out these like rude, ugly glasses. They were like yellow and like plastic. Like, you probably could have got them at Dollarama. And they put them on they're like jamming it on his ear. Like, they're jamming it onto his face. And they're like, all of the Jamaican ladies will have sex with you once you have this on. And I was like, whoa. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I literally just like, oh my God. But yeah, that was pretty funny. But Jamaica was a really good time. I would suggest Jamaica and Egypt to anybody. Aside from those stories, I would suggest those two places for sure.
Yeah, just don't bring like your short friend, and don't go in the desert. That's it.
Hey man, they really liked him, you know. I thought he was my kid.
Crazy, man. All right, so thanks so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate
Guys,
you taking
appreciate
the time.
So many stories. This was probably top 3 podcast guests for stories. These were incredible.
Oh, awesome, man. I'm glad I could give you guys some stuff.
Yeah, 100%. So just make sure you guys follow Pat at Pat Greenall on Instagram. Same thing for YouTube. Are you going to be posting again on YouTube anytime soon, or?
Yeah, I'm going to start posting. I'm going to say early June. So yeah, I'm going to go back on YouTube for sure.
All right. Thanks guys for listening. Make sure to follow us at RnR Podcast on all platforms, including YouTube. See you next week. Ciao.
Later.